Someone said the other day that basically the way the calendar is set up now, we're going to be reading, at least according to the annual cycle, we're going to be reading Parshas Miketz after Hanukkah, and Miketz will not be on Hanukkah. Sometimes even when you have two Shabbos of Hanukkah, so Miketz is one of the Parshas there. First of all, I'd like to make it clear, like we've said before, to Rashi and Rambam, there was no Parshas HaShavua associated with a particular Shabbos of the year. There was no Shabbos Parshas Vayelech like we have nowadays, or Parsa Shabbos Shira. It was something that was quite local and something that wasn't fixed in the calendar, so you couldn't really figure it out. But since late Tosafistic times, it's basically become concretized. So now we associate certain parshas with certain Shabboses of the year. So assuming the parshas are now fixed, I'm going to share something on the screen that would be a good segue. Hold on one second. To our general shiur, about which I sent out in the WhatsApp group so other people here can print them up, color-coded sources for what we're going to be speaking about. Over here, we have the percentages of the year types. What is going on here? This is basically a Jewish calendar, with shorthand. What are we looking at? These events in leap years, see, these are all the different types of leap years that could happen. The Jewish calendar allows for 14 different types of years. Why do I say only 14? Well, there's leap years and there's regular years. Leap year means there's an extra month in the year. Among the regular years, there's only 4 days of the week on which the year can start. And because every year is like that, the next year also has to start on one of those 4 days. And the year is also limited in its length. It's either in a regular year, 353, 354, or 355 days. And in a leap year, that plus 30. So 383, 384, 385. Because it has to start on certain days of the week, and it's limited to these 3 lengths, and it has to basically end on certain days of the year, certain year combinations are precluded. So what we have here is a code. This is something that those who know the calendar are familiar with this code. This first letter indicates the day of the week on which Rosh Hashanah is, the consistency of the calendar, how long the year is, and this is an extra letter that's a consequence of the other two, tells you the day of the week on which Passover is. Sometimes for shorthand, this third letter is just left off. It's not necessary. What we see here in this code, this means a year that begins on Monday and is Asarah. It is lacking. That means it's a 353-day year. This is a year that begins on Monday, but is a shlema, meaning the year is full. It has 355 days, the full complement of possible days. And this is a year, if anybody could guess, following along, this is a year that begins on Tuesday and is kisidra. That means it basically goes according to the way it's supposed to, in order, and therefore it has 354 days. Okay. In this case, how does it allow for 354? That means 6 months are full, 30 days long. 6 months will be 29 days long. That's how we get to this number. If you have 7 full months and 5 deficient months, 7 months of 30 days and 5 months of 29 days, you have what's called a shalema, a full year, the whole 355 days. And in this case, you have a chasera, meaning one of the months that was supposed to be full is actually deficient, like this year. And you subtract the day from the year, you get 353 days. Sum total, 5 full months and 7 deficient months. And the same thing for the leap years, except that extra month, Adar Rishon, is always 30 days. It's always full. So min hastam, if you have kisidra, it means 7 full months and 6 deficient months. That's what a kisidra would mean. And a full leap year would be one that has 8 full months and 5 deficient months. And a chasera leap year, like over here, has 6 full months and 7 deficient months. We are in a leap year. We're also in a year that started on Shabbos, so that's over here. But if I'm not mistaken, it's a chasera year. How do I know it's chasera? Because today was the 7th day of Hanukkah, and it was not Rosh Chodesh, meaning Kislev was a one-day event, and that's what happens in a chasera year. Sorry, yes, Kislev is deficient. Rosh Chodesh Teves is also just one day in a chasera year, and it's a leap year. So we're in this type of year that's 5.8% of the time. That's where we are standing here. So let's zoom out. Someone else, some mathematicians, already calculated this. on average. This doesn't mean that 5.8% of any person's given lifetime or of a century, you'll have these types of years, and 13.72 of the time you'll have these types of years. It means over the course of the entire theoretical cycle of our current set calendar, which if it had been in use since, let's say, primordial times, and it will continue to be used, hopefully not, but it will continue to be used for the next 600 or so thousand years, that's the rate. But you could take, because these percentages are over the course of a theoretical cycle. Remember, it only cycles over the course of this 600 or so thousand, whatever the exact number is. It has never been through even a particular cycle. This calendar has only been used now for less than 2,000 years. By the way, these percentages are good enough for an average. They're pretty good. So we have years like this, where it starts in Shabbos and Asarah, which would result in Mikates being not on Hanukkah, occurs, as you can see over here, these types of years, right? Remember, the difference between a leap year and a normal year has not actually happened yet. When will the difference become pronounced? When Shavat and Adar roll around, when we'll add an extra Adar, and that's why you see the nafkamina between a year that starts in Shabbos and Chasera, that's a leap year, and a year that starts in Shabbos, that's deficient, and a regular year over here is that in this particular case, if it's a leap year, Passover will start on a Tuesday, whereas in this type of year, Passover will start on a Sunday. That's the nafkamina. The nafkamina is only, that is the practical difference between the years, only kick in later. But you see that if we add up these types of years, 5.8 plus 4.33, that comes out almost to 10%, just beyond 10%. So already we see that that's 10% of years. That doesn't mean, as the guy tried to claim in shul, once every 20 years or so. Actually, it's closer to one out of every 10 years. Right? Or if you want to say it's closer to 11%. Well, it's not 11% exactly, but the point is, it's about 1 out of every 10 years on average that we have such a thing. So now let's jump into the main thing that we wanted to talk about. Here are certain percentages that you can just calculate. How often do you have the 10th of Teves on a Friday then? So you can look at these types of years. It comes out to 20.1% of years. So that's why, which is basically 1 out of 5. If you're wondering why is it that fast days often don't occur on Friday, it's because most of the fast days with which we are familiar in our calendar cannot occur on Fridays. Even though, let's say in Talmudic times, this was actually quite a discussion. Even Tisha B'Av was on a Friday, which we're going to see for those who looked ahead into the Mar Makomos. That's actually been a Talmudic discussion in quite a few places. And it happens to us that the 10th of Teves is the only of the historical fast days that occurs on a Friday. And you see it's about one out of every 5 years. So you're familiar with it. It happens. And over here, for example, Passover on a Sunday, you could calculate this one. Also find all the cases where there's a little aleph after the rest of the siman. That's what this is called, the siman, the mark of the year. So it's only in this type of year and this type of year that Passover is on a Sunday. Sorry, am I making a mistake here? No, say it's this type over here and this type. So you add it up together. Passover starts on a Sunday, basically this often, 11.51%. Okay, good to know. Hanukkah starting on a Monday. Hanukkah is actually, of all the holidays, the most, I guess, egalitarian of all of them. Hanukkah starts on 6 days of the week. It can't start on a Tuesday. Basically, that's how it goes. Most holidays have a siman. Lo adu rosh, lo badu pesach. Pesach cannot be on 3 days of the week. It only has 4 days of the week. Same thing with Rosh Hashanah and all the Tishrei holidays. And same thing with Shavuos and other such holidays. And Purim, for example, has only certain days of the week, basically following Passover. But Hanukkah can be all over the place. So Hanukkah starts on a Monday, 28.03% of the time. And if Hanukkah starts on a Monday, that means you're going to have, I believe, Rosh Chodesh Kislev on Shabbos. And that's why for many of us, we associate the 6th day and 7th day of Hanukkah with Rosh Chodesh and with Shabbos Sunday. And that's the way it was, for example, 18 years ago and many other years. Sundays. Hanukkah starts on a Sunday, also 11.51% of the time. Wednesdays, 22.37% of the time. Thursdays, 97% of the time. Fridays, 10.13% of the time. And Sabbaths, also, if it starts on the Sabbath, that means you're going to have 2 Sabbaths within Hanukkah, so that's 18.44% of the time.